2. In the 1992 elections, the Labour Party, led by Yitzhak Rabin, won a significant victory, 44 seats, promising to pursue peace while promoting Rabin as a tough general and pledging not to deal with the PLO in any way. The left Zionist party Meretz won 12 seats, and the Arab and Communist parties a further 5, meaning that parties supporting a peace treaty had a full, albeit small, majority in the Knesset. Yitzhak Rabin, Bill Clinton, and Yasser Arafat during the Oslo Accords signing ceremony at the White House on the 13th of September 1993. On the 25th of July 1993, Israel carried out a week-long military operation in Lebanon to attack Hezbollah positions dubbed Operation Accountability. On the 13th of September 1993, Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, signed the Oslo Accords, a declaration of principles, 360, on the south lawn of the White House. The principles established objectives relating to a transfer of authority from Israel to an interim Palestinian authority, as a prelude to a final treaty establishing a Palestinian state, in exchange for mutual recognition. The DOP established May 1999 as the date by which a permanent status agreement for the West Bank and Gaza Strip would take effect. In February 1994, Barak Goldstein, a follower of the KAK party, killed 29 Palestinians and wounded 125 at the Cave of the Patriarchs in Hebron, which became known as the Cave of Patriarchs Massacre. KAK had been barred from participation in the 1992 elections, on the grounds that the movement was racist. It was subsequently made illegal. Israel and the PLO signed the Gaza-Jericho Agreement in May 1994, and the Agreement on Preparatory Transfer of Powers and Responsibilities in August, which began the process of transferring authority from Israel to the Palestinians. On the 25th of July 1994, Jordan and Israel signed the Washington Declaration, which formally ended the state of war that had existed between them since 1948, and on the 26th of October the Israel-Jordan Treaty of Peace, witnessed by U.S. President Bill Clinton. 361, 362. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat signed the Israeli-Palestinian Interim Agreement on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip on the 28th of September 1995 in Washington. The agreement was witnessed by President Bill Clinton on behalf of the United States and by Russia, Egypt, Norway and the European Union, and incorporates and supersedes the previous agreements, marking the conclusion of the first stage of negotiations between Israel and the PLO. 363, 364. The agreement allowed the PLO leadership to relocate to the occupied territories and granted autonomy to the Palestinians, with talks to follow regarding final status. In return, the Palestinians promised to abstain from use of terror and changed the Palestinian National Covenant, which had called for the expulsion of all Jews who migrated after 1917 and the elimination of Israel. 365. The agreement was opposed by Hamas and other Palestinian factions, which launched suicide bomber attacks at Israel. Rabin had a barrier constructed around Gaza to prevent attacks. The growing separation between Israel and the Palestinian territories led to a labor shortage in Israel, mainly in the construction industry. Israeli firms began importing laborers from the Philippines, Thailand, China and Romania. Some of these laborers stayed on without visas. In addition, a growing number of Africans began illegally migrating to Israel. On the 4th of November 1995, a far-right-wing religious Zionist opponent of the Oslo Accords assassinated Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. In February 1996, Rabin's successor, Shimon Peres, called early elections. In April 1996, Israel launched Operation Grapes of Wrath in southern Lebanon as a result of Hezbollah's Katyusha rocket attacks on Israeli population centers along the border. 1996-2001, Netanyahu I. Barak. The May 1996 elections were the first featuring direct election of the Prime Minister and resulted in a narrow election victory for Likud leader Benjamin Netanyahu. A spate of suicide bombings reinforced the Likud position for security. Hamas claimed responsibility for most of the bombings. Despite his stated differences with the Oslo Accords, Prime Minister Netanyahu continued their implementation, but his prime ministership saw a marked slowdown in the peace process. Netanyahu also pledged to gradually reduce U.S. aid to Israel. 366. In September 1996, a Palestinian riot broke out against the creation of an exit in the Western Wall tunnel. Over the subsequent few weeks, around 80 people were killed as a result. 367. In January 1997, Netanyahu signed the Hebron Protocol with the Palestinian Authority, resulting in the deployment of Israeli forces in Hebron and the turnover of civilian authority in much of the area to the Palestinian Authority. In the election of July 1999, Ehud Barak of the Labour Party became Prime Minister. His party was the largest in the Knesset with 26 seats. In September 1999, the Supreme Court of Israel ruled that the use of torture in interrogation of Palestinian prisoners was illegal. 368. On the 21st of March 2000, Pope John Paul II arrived in Israel for an historic visit. On the 25th of May 2000, Israel unilaterally withdrew its remaining forces from the security zone in southern Lebanon. Several thousand members of the South Lebanon Army, and their families, left with the Israelis. The UN Secretary-General concluded, 369, that, as of the 16th of June, 2000, Israel had withdrawn its forces from Lebanon in accordance with UN Security Council Resolution 425. Lebanon claims that Israel continues to occupy Lebanese territory called Shbu'ei Farms. However, this area was governed by Syria until 1967 when Israel took control. 370. The Shbu'ei Farms provided Hezbollah with a pretext to maintain warfare with Israel. 371. The Lebanese government, in contravention of the UN Security Council resolution, did not assert sovereignty in the area, which came under Hezbollah control. In the fall of 2000, talks were held at Camp David to reach a final agreement in the Israel/Palestine conflict. Ehud Barak offered to meet most of the Palestinian team's requests for territory and political concessions, including Arab parts of East Jerusalem. However, Arafat abandoned the talks without making a counter-proposal. 372. Following its withdrawal from South Lebanon, Israel became a member of the Western European and
Yes, the camcorder is out of power, so we had to stop and charging. So I have to read it again because there's too many information. So that's too many names, too many years, too many numbers. But that was interesting. I think the last part, Israel modern history, was more easy to understand. After the independent, all the kind of press, but that's something I had to read a lot. But I need a shower and a shaving a lot, and we have the news in 20 minutes.